if you could visualize this formula that's here, it's only successful if you wrap it with a wealth mindset.
Each financial decision is not in a silo by itself. It has to be looked at how it relates to something else in your plan. And most people are not looking at the big picture.
And this is John Smallwood. I'm back on Money Isn't. And I got into this thought pattern the other day about wealth and about how we perceive wealth and how we don't perceive wealth, right? So many conversations I've had over the course of my 35-year career is, hey, when I have money, I'll come meet with you. Okay. I'm like, well, don't you have money now? Yes, but I'm going to have more money in the future. And when that person gets to the future, it's never enough money. And they keep pushing, I'll do it. And there's a mindset, there's a frame, there's a way you think about money. Okay. When you think about money and you think about that I don't have money, no matter how much money you have, you don't have money. So I got into this conversation the other day about how we become impatient for return, how we become impatient for the investments to pay off, how we become, we want this instantaneous gratification. We've grown up in a world like, I put $1 in the Coke machine, I get a Coke out, right? Like I've got to get my reward immediately. And it's within that reward that I think creates a lot of conflict and a lot of letdown and a lot of expectations versus reality, right? And those are the things that really let us down. So I started to think about the success of a wealth plan and, came up with a formula. And the formula, if you're looking at this on the YouTube channel, it'll be on the screen. But if you're listening to this, it's a relatively interesting formula. So you start with your income, right? You start with your savings rate, and you start with your lifestyle. And that becomes sort of like the foundation. And if I'm looking at that, most of this is going to be out of whack. And if you correlate it to fitness, if you correlate it to eating, like if you think about it as macros, right? In macros, when you're talking about fitness, you're talking about a certain amount of protein that people should eat, a certain amount of fats and a certain amount of carbs. And what you find is that like the fats are off the charts, the protein is low, and the carbs are out of whack. And they're not getting results and they can't figure out why. All right? So when you design those things properly and you get them optimized, you actually begin to do really, really well if your protein is right. I'm on a fitness journey. Everybody's on one. Right? I've been on one I'm 56. I've been on one for, 35, 40 years. Ebb and flow. And it wasn't until about 15 months ago when I started to measure the proteins and I realized I should be eating 170 to 190 grams of protein, lean, quality protein. And I was measuring and I was eating like 40, maybe 50. And then not even eating, intermittent starving and binge eating, right? So what's interesting is your income is never static. Your income is going to fluctuate. Even if you work for a corporation, that income is going to be impacted by outside events, okay? Your savings rate, your lifestyle, those three things need to be optimized right out of the gate. If those three things are not optimized, everything else that you're trying to do in your investment strategy is going to be undermined by it. It's not going to work. So what I focus on is if I optimize those three elements and then I go to tax balance, how do I balance the different tax structures? Smallwood Wealth Management is the lead sponsor of this podcast. You have an opportunity to have a free, no obligation conversation with one of our qualified advisors. Go to smallwoodwealth.com, schedule a call, or call us at 800-797-1000 and get on our calendars. There's things in investment that I invest with after-tax dollars and the returns are taxable, such as interest. Some of them show up as ordinary income. Some of them show up as capital gain. I can take income and defer it in either a 401k plan or a deferred compensation plan and defer it into the future. I can go into a Roth and basically have money that's after-tax money growing tax-free. And in the future, that's going to be tax-free and the compounding without taxation. Then I can have things where it's after-tax money. I push it into a vehicle that is tax advantage also along the way without penalties and without restriction. And there's even vehicles where you're putting money in, getting a current tax benefit for it, benefiting from depreciation. The income is tax efficient and it grows without taxation. And when I sell it, I can pay taxes and there's laws and there's this element of tax balance, right? So, and everybody focuses on that first before getting the first three in order. But when you get the first three in order and then you basically look at the 4 or 5 different tax structures that I can be investing in, and I understand the value of them and that they're in this synergistic way, you now start to get wealth really compounding. Okay. And it's the next element of this, okay, is it's the consistency, the C. How consistently can I repeat this over and over and over again, which then is time on the curve. The longer I'm on the exponential curve without breaking my exponential curve, that's when you get the compounding. And if you look at, Warren Buffett, who's in his 90s as I record this, right? At 56, he was worth $1 billion. He's now worth, 50, 60, 70, 80, maybe even 100 billion. I don't even know what it is. I'm not paying attention to it, but it's a lot. Okay. But that all that wealth, the majority of the wealth, which was a ton of wealth when he was 56 that he could have stopped in anybody's world, he has built exponentially more wealth in the last 10 years than he did during the first 70, 80 years of his life, right? Because he's time on the curve. So I started to think back about this, and it was sort of like, if people understood that it's a time factor, it's a consistency factor, it's a tax factor, it's a balance of income, savings rate, and lifestyle, and the impact of current taxation on that. And if I have all this optimized today, what people are missing is that they want the immediate response. Like, oh, I missed that stock, I'm going to go buy the next stock. But the reality is, you're stepping into an optimized zone. And the longer I do it, the better my output and my outcome is going to be coming on this thing, right? So it's sort of like, it's this optimized zone is, if I'm in this space, I have perfection. It's the outside events. It's the outside information. It's the outside mind chatter that is impacting your confidence in what you're doing. So all of this, if you could visualize this formula that's here, it's only successful if you wrap it with a wealth mindset. You have to have the idea that money is yours, that you're attracting money, that you're bringing money into the world, and that you have the consistency of wealth, and wealth is coming. If you don't have a wealth mindset, and you don't have a maximization wealth mindset, you're never actually going to achieve, because you're going to keep breaking the curve, paying unnecessary taxes, unnecessary things. So I've been on this kick with, the meditations of Marcus Aurelius, the Roman Empire, and, great philosopher, who basically the meditations were not for the John Q public. They were written to himself. Okay. But it's when you think about this, the happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. If you think about this, the output of your wealth is dictated by the quality of your thoughts, how you think about wealth, how you understand these macros, how you put them into alignment. And once they're in alignment, you trust the outcome. You stay the course. You stay consistent. You focus on the ever-changing tax balance. You become more efficient there. You become more efficient at adding more income, saving more money, and having that lifestyle that is optimized so that it's constantly within the right balance. That's what I really wanted to get this message out today. This wealth is a simplistic way to think about it, but the only way to be successful is to wrap it with the wealth mindset. This was John Smallwood. If you like this podcast, subscribe where you like to subscribe, and more importantly, share it with as many people as you can, and give me as much feedback as you possibly can so we can bring this to you and make this as valuable as you want it to be. Thank you.